Raider Nation, what's going on? You're watching the Raiders Report. It's Mitchell Renz here from Chat Sports, and today's show is sponsored by RexMD. Face it, fellas, if you got a hard time getting hard, go to rexmd.com/chat. 95% off. I'm going to say that again. 95% off by going to rexmd.com/chat. That link's going to be available to y'all down in the comments and down in the description of today's show. Shout out to RexMD for having the best products to get you. You know what I'm talking about. So coming up here on today's show, if the Las Vegas Raiders beat the Kansas City Chiefs on Christmas, Antonio Pierce, Champ Kelly, they will be back in 2024. Antonio Pierce is going to be your head coach. Champ Kelly's going to be your general manager in 2024. I'm playing my flag. I am saying it, and I will not differ from it. If they beat Kansas City, I don't care what Week 17 against the Colts looks like. I don't care what Week 18 against Denver looks like. You beat Patrick Mahomes. You beat Andy Reid. You beat the defending Super Bowl champs, and guess what? You're going to be the next Raiders head coach. Champ Kelly, you're going to be the next GM. Right now, the Raiders are currently 3-3 under Pierce, defeating Giants, Jets, and most recently the Chargers, losing to the Vikings, Dolphins, and Kansas City. I know that the players want Pierce and Champ Kelly back, and I also know that there's a lot of smoke around the Raiders potentially keeping Antonio Pierce, potentially keeping Champ Kelly, and I'm not saying that Mark Davis is like looking for an excuse to keep them because he didn't keep Rich Bisaccia, and you can make a legitimate argument that Rich Bisaccia at 7-5, making the playoffs, maybe that's more impressive than what Antonio Pierce and company have done this season. You could make a legit argument, which I don't think is that far-fetched. However, though, if you beat the Kansas City Chiefs, I'm telling y'all right now, Mark Davis, that's all what he is going to need to say that these are going to be the right guys. Now, they're still going to have to go through the hiring process. You're still going to have to interview coaches and whatnot. But if you beat Kansas City, I am telling y'all, Antonio Pierce, Champ Kelly, head coach, GM in 2024. So here's my honest question to you. It's an honest question of the nation because when I first started talking about Antonio Pierce as being the Raiders head coach, I said playoffs or bust. It's playoffs or bust. What about this? If the Raiders beat the Chiefs on Christmas, does Pierce deserve to be the head coach of the Silver and Black in 2024? This is going to be the pinned comment on today's show, which means you're about to get hit with the YouTube ad break. Scroll on down, type yes, type no, and if you could do me a big solid, let the ad play, because believe it or not, it helps me out a lot. My answer is yes. If the Raiders beat the Chiefs on Christmas, Antonio Pierce deserves the job. I want to be able to compete with the best of the best. And if you can compete with the best of the best, then you can beat the best of the best. This season has been a shit show. I mean, let's call it what it is. Josh McDaniels was an absolute clown. Dave Ziegler followed the clown. And I don't really think it's fair to totally assess what Antonio Pierce can do as a head coach because the current team is, it's still very much built on a regime that really wasn't his. But if you agree on the idea that AP deserves to be the Raiders head coach if he beats the Chiefs on Christmas, smash that like button right now. So I think the reason why the nation loves Antonio Pierce is because Josh McDaniels was the complete opposite of what I wanted a Raiders coach to be. Now you got a guy, RWA, I'm talking like Compton. Like a dude that is just bleeds silver and black. Everything that he says is Raiders. That's the guy I want to go to battle for. He hasn't earned the job yet, but it's a job that I want Antonio Pierce to have. Now, here's another job that maybe your girl hasn't been able to do because can't get it up. Shout out to today's sponsor, RexMD. And fellas, I mean, this is an honest conversation. This is an honest show. And at the end of the day, I want to be able to hook you guys up with stuff that makes you happier. And I also want to be able to hook up you with some stuff that makes your significant other happier, a little bit happier also. So, do you sometimes lack confidence in the bedroom? Do you wish that you had a more fulfilling sex life? Well, you're not alone. That's why we're excited to tell you about RexMD, the online source for men's wellness. RexMD offers an easy and discreet way to get your medication you need for ED without having to visit a doctor's office. With just a few clicks, you can have your medication delivered straight to your door and at a fraction of a cost of traditional pharmacies. RexMD's team of licensed physicians will work with you to find the right treatment plan, and their medication is made in the USA, so you can trust its quality. Plus, Their customer support team is available 24/7 to answer any questions or concerns you may have. So if you're ready to take control of your sex life and say goodbye to ED, head on over to rexmd.com/chat and start your consultation today. Take advantage of their best deal they've ever offered and get up to 95% off RexMD plus a free gift with our exclusive link, rexmd.com/chat. So, nation, go to rexmd.com/chat for this limited time deal. Starter packs of generic Viagra and Cialis are now available for our listeners to get started. That's rexmd.com/chat. Coming up here, why the Raiders will give Antonio Pierce the job. And when you talk about RexMD, I'm not talking about the job that all y'all just thought of. I'm talking about the Raiders head coaching job if they take down the Kansas City Chiefs. Because if you beat the Chiefs on primetime, and when I say on primetime, it's Christmas Day. It's Christmas Day, man. Like, I don't want coal in my stockings. I didn't ask for anything for Christmas this season. Honest to God, I really did not. I want one thing and one thing only, and that's a big-time dub on Christmas. So here's why Antonio Pierce would get the job. If you can prove that you can beat Kansas City, that's almost like finding Bigfoot anymore for a Raiders head coach. Like, you go back and you look at recent years, right? Like, you go back and you look at recent years of the Raiders against the Chiefs. It hasn't been good. Since Andy Reid has taken over as the head coach of Kansas City, the Las Vegas Raiders have only won 3 times. 3-18 against Andy Reid since he's taken over in Kansas City. I mean, not many coaches have been able to say that they've been able to take down Andy Reid. And in fact, it's been 6 straight games that the Raiders have lost. Like, think about how much shit we talk on Denver because we've beaten Denver. The last time the Broncos beat us was December 29, 2019. Kansas City does the exact same thing. Like, I got a lot of friends down here that are Chiefs fans that rip on me all the time. I mean, they obviously know what I do for a job. But, man, there's nothing that would make me happier than beating this effing team. Can I get an FKC down below? I mean, as it stands, you got the 9-5 Chiefs going up against the 6-8 Raiders. Kansas City is a 10-point favorite. The over-under in this one is at 41 points. And if you want to join our watch party, please do so. I always say on this show, you might not agree with everything that Chugs and I say. You might not agree with how wild we get sometimes. My dad's like, sometimes you guys are too wild with the beer bongs. I get it. But I want to treat this show like an Oakland tailgate, and Oakland only knows how to go from 0 to 100 real quick. But I'm going to be live on Christmas. Like, I love hanging out with y'all. It's the holidays, don't get me wrong. But Raider Nation, y'all are who I want to be with on the holidays. And when the Raiders play, that's the commitment to excellence that I'm bringing. There ain't nobody that works harder than Chugs and I. And we prove it every single day. But you know what? During the holiday season, we're also going to be giving away a signed Willie Brown jersey. And all you got to do for a chance to win it, subscribe, turn those notifications on. Signed Willie Brown jersey, JSA certified. Come join us on the holidays. Let's go to the next one here. It's the Raiders players want to give Antonio Pierce the job. I'm telling y'all right now, I don't care if the Raiders lose their next 3 games. Raiders players in that locker room, and I'm talking about the guys that wear C's on their chest, they want AP back. The problem is for Mark Davis is like, he's got to be able to sell it, right? He's a businessman at the end of the day. You're not selling Antonio Pierce as a head coach if you don't win your next 3 games. You beat the Chiefs and you lose your next 2, you can sell it. And that's why if he beats Kansas City, Antonio Pierce, the head coach of the Raiders in 2024, book it. Book it right now. This weekend, I was told that Champ Kelly and Trey Brown are the favorites to be the next GM. And the reason why I'm putting this out there is because, it's kind of funny actually. Taino Raider, who's watching the show live right now, was like, yo, there's rumors and reports out there that the Raiders are going to create a new position. We talked about this live on the show over the weekend. I said, that's kind of interesting because I didn't hear that. I just heard that Champ Kelly and Trey Brown were they're the top 2 candidates for GM, and it's not close. That's what I was told by my sources. Then a report comes out from The Athletic on December 20th that the Raiders could hire a new executive to work with the GM and head coach. I'm telling you this right now. I'm a big believer. Smoke, fire, I don't have to get into it. I am telling you right now that I believe that it's going to be Antonio Pierce's head coach. Then your next one is going to be Champ Kelly. And then your next one's going to be Trey Brown. And if the Raiders beat Kansas City, write it down, lock it in. It's a done freaking deal. Because there's so much smoke around the 2024 staff right now that it's it's getting hard to breathe in here. Pierce is going to be the head coach. Champ Kelly's going to be the GM. And your new executive, I don't know what the title's going to be, but it's going to be Trey Brown, who interviewed for the Raiders in 2019 and 2022. Has this been set in stone yet? No, it hasn't been. But I want y'all to remember tonight's show, December 21st. And when the Raiders announce Antonio Pierce as head coach, Champ Kelly is GM, and Trey Brown is the new executive, if the Raiders beat the Chiefs, I just want you to remember that we were talking about it here on December 21st with the entire nation. But, hey, I got to ask you this question. If this is the staff next season, okay, A, B, C, D, or F, grade this staff. We're going into it. Now, you're keeping it, like, the other reason why this is the staff that they're probably going to go with is because they want to keep Patrick Graham. I would still say OC is kind of up in the air, but they want to be able to keep a lot of their coaches because they love their coaching staff that they have right now. But if you rolled in to 2024 with this staff, what would you guys think about it? A, B, C, D, or F? For me personally, I would look at this staff right here as an A grade. Like, all I want in my next staff is I don't want one person to have a God complex. I don't want one person to call the final shots. I'm a big believer in democracy. I want Antonio Pierce to get a say, Champ Kelly to get a say, Trey Brown to get a say. I want Max Crosby to say, Devontae Adams to get a say. If you're going to pay all those guys all that money, everybody deserves a say. I don't want John Gruden to say, oh, it's my team, I make the call. Josh McDaniels, oh, it's my team, I make the call. That's not how good operations work. It's not how good teams work. So, to me, since Bisaccia didn't get hired, after going 7-5 and making the playoffs, beating the Chiefs, gives AP the boost, he needs to get the job. So if the Raiders beat the Chiefs on Christmas Day, Antonio Pierce will be the next Raiders head coach. If the Raiders beat the Chiefs on Christmas Day, Champ Kelly will be the Raiders general manager. And I have a really, really strong feeling that Trey Brown is going to be the right-hand man next to both of them. Remember, you heard it here. Hit that subscribe button. Turn on those notifications. That way you never miss anything going on around the silver and black.